Alright, this is kind of a weird episode to be recording, but, so one thing I recently thought of that I should do on my channel that I really kind of latched onto right away was playing some interactive fiction games on my channel. Now, I'm making this a kind of like a 0 episode video for not just like any particular game, but like the genre as a whole. I'm doing this for a couple reasons. First off, there's a fair number of these I want to play that are going to be on the shorter side. In fact, I don't know how many I'm actually going to play that are going to be like big, long, month-long epics or whatever. So it feels appropriate to kind of have like one video going over the ideas of the genre in case like anyone watches any particular one kind of like episodic game and like wants to know what's going on. I can just have one video that covers like people's questions for everything. And also because I feel like of all the games I'm probably going to play on my channel, this is probably going to be like the genre which requires the most like explanation for why I'm playing it, if nothing else. So, that is what I'm doing here. So, interactive fiction, or at least what I'm going to call interactive fiction. I know some sites might want a stricter term for what I'm talking about, but it basically refers to what you might call like text parser games. Essentially games where the primary interaction between you and the game is through text, whether it be typing or more rarely like selecting from choices. Technically, you've already played on the channel. I know, at least on like some of the databases I was looking through when I was looking for like which games to play. I know a lot of sites considered Disco Elysium an interactive fiction game because like there is like obviously graphics in that game. There are some more standard interactive fiction games with graphics, and but the main thrust of the gameplay in that game is just basically working your way through dialogue trees, and even the actual like mechanics of the game, like the whole RPG element and all that, was basically just like some glorified interfaces over reading through numbers. So basically, all the interaction in that game is through text, mostly. Interactive fiction as a genre in and of itself, by and large, when you're playing a game, you're going to be usually playing it through an engine which only supports text, or, yeah, I'd say that's accurate. Like, for example, the genre, as a whole started due to, like, being made for computers which didn't have, like, graphics as a concept. I think that's kind of, like, the reasoning behind interactive fiction games that most people are going to gravitate to. And so, like, the reason, partially that I want to talk about this, too, is that a lot of the games we're going to play in this kind of series, I don't know, I guess I'll talk about like how I'm going to place it on the channel later, but a lot of the games we're going to play, I feel, are relatively newer, like maybe not like modern in the last few years new, but like new enough that they did have like options for games with graphics. And so, the natural question at that point is like, why would you choose to make a game and or play a game that's only text if you have options for other styles? I think, to me, the main like thrust, there's a couple big reasons why you would gravitate towards these kinds of games. The first is that text as a medium kind of has some advantages in that it can regulate how you interact with it and what you get to know and get to see and all that. It can regulate in a way that like visual media can't. Like, I think the best analogy for that is like, if you think of like, if you've ever read a book and then seen its film adaptation, you know that like just by virtue of not having to worry about budgets and not having to worry about the limitations of visual media, a book can go, and like how long books can be. Books can go into far more detail than, like, say, movies or TV shows can. Of course, this does come with some drawbacks. Like, there are some things, especially with, like, I mean, in the most literal sense, like showing visual cues. Obviously, there are limitations, but by and large, I feel like you can do a lot of stuff with text as a medium that you just isn't just physically impossible with the visual media. The other thing on that note is like, on that note, my other point was that because it's kind of a more book adjacent, literary adjacent genre, perhaps, I feel at least, I mean, this probably isn't globally true, but I'm hoping at least that, at least among the higher priority examples, that there tends to be a greater focus on narrative and writing than there perhaps is in a lot of the games we played. Like, a lot of times I do complain about the game's narratives being kind of too simple or not enough in depth, that kind of thing. And obviously I feel like, I mean, obviously there are some like puzzle and simulation games made in text engines which aren't going to be like that, like some RPG sims, but there are definitely plenty of games made in this format, more so than there would be, at least in a high density, than there would be for other genres that focus on being narrative experiences first and foremost. And I feel like that's usually like what I've enjoyed the most in games, like having a cohesive narrative that you get to interact with. And I'm hoping at least that interactive fiction games will let me get the best of both worlds. I mean, to be clear, I have played a few of interactive fiction games before, like, beyond just playing Disco Elysium for the channel. I've played a bit of Zork, I've never beaten it, but there's a few... When I was like 15 or so, I did kind of go through a few different interactive fiction games. I haven't played any of them in many years, so I'm not going to necessarily remember all the details. I do want to start with some of the ones I've already played, but yeah, that is kind of already having a little bit of experience with them and seeing what they can do. I am very much curious to explore the genre more as a whole. I'm probably going to start with a few games I've already played, just kind of refamiliarize myself with the genre, but yeah, that's something that I'm going to do on and off. I'm not sure how frequently I'm going to do them on the channel, but that is, I know, this is just like a nice hub. It's for the series as a whole. Like I said, I'm gonna make a playlist for all the interactive fiction games that I play, and I'm hoping this can be kind of the central hub. I noticed the window does look a bit small in the recording for my taste. I'm gonna worry about that. I'll fix that between episodes, but I just wanted to have like some kind of interactive fiction game on screen. And I guess given the fact that I'm not interacting with the game at all, I can probably just fix it and put the new screen over top of this one. So I don't know, stuff for me to worry about. But yeah, hopefully this was kind of rambly. Maybe I should have prepared a script for this, but hopefully I've kind of answered some questions, if you have them, about what interactive fiction games are and why you would want to be interested in them. So yeah, going forward, like I said, I'm going to play a few of these off and on. Not sure how often, not sure how dense, but look forward to that, I guess, theoretically. For now, though, do I do an outro? I mean, this is kind of a meta video. Yeah, I'll do an outro. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I gotta leave in my debilitation on that too. This is important. You won't get the genre if you don't hear me debilitate whether or not to do an outro. Anyways, yeah, we'll call it here. I look forward to some interactive fiction games on my channel, but for now, as always, thank you for watching.